I woke up to the crushing weight on my chest. At first, I thought it was just one of those half-dreams you get when you're drifting in and out of sleep, but this was different. My eyes snapped open, and I was staring at the ceiling, breath shallow, heart pounding. I tried to move, just my arm, my fingers, anything, but my body wouldn't respond. Sleep paralysis. I'd read about it before, seen people post about it online. I knew the science. I knew it wasn't real. My mind was awake, my body was still asleep. That's all it was. That's all it should have been. But the room wasn't right. My nightstand lamp was off, but I swore I could see a faint glow, like dim firelight flickering from somewhere just out of sight. Shadows danced on the wall opposite me, slow and rhythmic, like there was someone pacing at the foot of my bed. I couldn't tilt my head to look, I could only see the shapes moving, stretching unnaturally long, bending at sharp angles that didn't match the curve of a human body. Just a hallucination, I told myself. A trick of the mind. Then I heard it. The sound of something dragging across the floor. Not footsteps, scraping. Like claws on wood. It moved in slow, deliberate drags, inching closer, pausing, then scraping again. The rhythm was unbearable. Scrape. Pause. Scrape. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. My throat wouldn't work. I could feel tears building at the corners of my eyes, hot and sharp, but even my tears refused to fall. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. I knew this was normal, textbook sleep paralysis symptoms, but the sound wasn't supposed to be part of it. I'm hallucinating. I'm hallucinating. Then, the dragging stopped. Silence. For one perfect, terrible moment, nothing moved. I strained to hear, to catch some hint of where it had gone. I would have given anything to hear it scrape again because at least then I'd know where it was. But the silence stretched on, deep and heavy like the air had been sucked out of the room. That's when I saw it. A shape, darker than the rest of the room, blocking the bottom edge of my vision. It hadn't been there before. I'm sure of it. It wasn't like a person standing at the edge of my bed, it was lower, like something crouched, its form barely distinguishable from the shadows. It was watching me. I couldn't see eyes, but I felt them. Heavy, patient eyes. It leaned forward, slow and calculated, its silhouette shifting like it had too many joints in its limbs. It didn't breathe. It didn't move. It just watched me. And then, oh God, then I saw its hand. It came up from the foot of the bed, slow as a spider's crawl, fingers too long, joints too sharp. Its fingers hovered inches from my foot, just above the blanket. I tried with everything I had to move. My muscles strained. I could feel the burn in my arms, my legs, but I was stuck. My chest heaved with short, frantic breaths, but no sound escaped me. It was like being buried alive under a layer of glass, able to see everything, hear everything, but do nothing. The hand hovered for a moment, fingers twitching, tapping lightly on the fabric. It was slow, deliberate. Testing me. Tap tap tap. Each tap sent a jolt of panic into my heart like a defibrillator shock. Then it stopped tapping. It curled one of those awful fingers and started pulling the blanket down. No. No, 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 no. I screamed inside my head, every part of me howling in silent terror. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see what was under the blanket. My eyes squeezed shut, tears threatening to spill over, but I knew, if I closed my eyes, it would get closer. So I watched. The blanket slid, inch by inch, slow enough to make me feel every second of it. The cool air from the room kissed my foot as the blanket slipped past my ankle. The tapping fingers returned, now resting just on the edge of my exposed skin. Cold, so cold it burned. Then it gripped my foot. That's when I woke up for real. I shot up, gasping so hard it felt like I'd been drowning. My chest heaved, my heart thudding like a sledgehammer in my ribs. My sheets were tangled around me, my foot completely exposed. My first instinct was to yank it back under the covers, and I did, heart still racing. It's over, it's over, it's over, I told myself, hugging my knees to my chest. But I didn't dare look at the foot of the bed. Not for a long time. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I couldn't. Every creak of the house, every hum of the fridge, every distant car driving past sent a jolt of adrenaline through me. I kept the lights on, sitting up in bed with my back pressed against the headboard, blanket pulled tight around me like it was some kind of shield. My eyes darted to every shadow in the room, scanning them for movement. I kept glancing at the foot of the bed. I didn't want to, but my eyes were drawn there, like it was magnetic. The way the blanket was bunched up made it look like something was still under it, just lying still, waiting for me to look away. I told myself it was nothing, just a bad dream, an episode of sleep paralysis like I'd read about 100 times online. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. But if that was true, why did my foot still feel cold where it had touched me? Not room temperature, cold, freezing. I rubbed at it absently, but I could still feel that awful pressure, like something had held on too long. By the time the sun came up, I was still wide awake. I'd convinced myself it was over, just my brain playing tricks on me. I even laughed a little under my breath, feeling stupid for being so freaked out. People online always said sleep paralysis came with hallucinations, shadow people, figures at the edge of the bed. That's all it was, right? But something about it felt off. The dream didn't end the way dreams usually do. I didn't snap out of it. It just stopped. The memory of that hand pulling the blanket back, the weight of those eyes on me, it was still too sharp in my mind. Too vivid. I needed to forget it. Shake it off. I spent the day trying to act normal. I went to the store, called a friend, even watched some dumb TV shows to distract myself. It worked, kind of. Every now and then, my mind would drift back to that moment when the hand touched my foot. I could feel the pressure all over again, as clear as if it had just happened. It wasn't real, it wasn't real, it wasn't real. That night, I almost didn't go to bed. I told myself I'd stay up all night watching movies, keep every light on in the house. But by 2 a.m., my body had other plans. My eyelids felt like they had weights attached, my mind foggy from exhaustion. I tried to stay awake, but at some point, sleep pulled me under. And that's when it happened again. This time, I didn't even get the luxury of waking up first. I started in sleep paralysis. 1 second, I was dreaming, something hazy and nonsensical, and the next, I was awake, staring at my ceiling, unable to move. The first thing I felt was the pressure on my chest. Not crushing this time, but firm, like someone was pressing their palm down on me. I sucked in shallow breaths, unable to get more than a whisper of air. I tried to turn my head, but my muscles refused to listen. That's when I realized something was breathing. It wasn't me. My breath was fast, frantic, shallow. But from somewhere close, too close, I heard slow, even breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Deep, steady, patient breaths. It was coming from the right next to my ear. My heart shot into overdrive, thudding so loud I swore it would burst. It felt like every nerve in my body was on fire. My mind screamed at me to move, to flinch, to do anything, but I was locked in place. Helpless. It's not real, I told myself, over and over. It's not real. It's not real. But the breathing didn't stop. The steady inhale-exhale sound filled the room, close enough that I could feel the soft stir of air on the side of my face. Each breath was too slow, too controlled. Like someone was deliberately breathing that way to let me know they were there. I strained my eyes as far as they'd go, trying to catch sight of whatever was next to me. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. Closer now. Leaning in. The pressure on my chest grew heavier, like it was slowly shifting its weight forward. I'm not proud of this, but I started praying. I'm not even religious. I haven't been to church since I was 12, but in that moment, every childhood prayer I'd ever been taught came rushing back. Please God, please God, please God, make it stop. But it didn't stop. The breath hitched, like it was laughing. A wet, rattling sound, low and quiet, almost too low to hear. The hairs on my neck stood on end. I knew it was behind me now. Behind me. Something brushed against my hair. That was enough to make me snap. I don't know how I did it, but I threw my whole body into one desperate, frantic push. It was like breaking through ice. I gasped, sucking in air so fast I choked on it, coughing as I rolled to the side and whipped my head around to see it, to see who was there. Nothing. Nothing but shadows. My heart wouldn't slow down. I sat up, chest heaving, sweat rolling down my temples. I couldn't tell if I was about to throw up or cry. I flicked on every light I could reach, checking every corner, every crevice, under the bed, behind the door. My eyes darted to the closet. The door was open. I didn't leave it open. I stared at the darkness inside, heart still thudding in my ears. It felt wrong. Like if I looked too long, something would blink back at me. My hands were still trembling when I walked over and slammed it shut. Not gently, not carefully, I slammed it. Then I grabbed a chair from the kitchen and propped it up under the doorknob like I'd seen in 100 horror movies. It felt stupid, childish, but I didn't care. I spent the rest of the night in the living room, lights on, TV blaring, my back to the wall. Every so often, I swore I heard that soft scraping noise. Not loud, not obvious. Just faint enough that I couldn't be sure if it was real or if my brain was still playing tricks on me. When the sun came up, I told myself I was done. I wasn't going to sleep in that room again. No more sleep paralysis. No more hallucinations. I'd stay up all night if I had to. But that night, something changed. It wasn't the paralysis that woke me up. It wasn't the pressure or the breathing. It was the sound of my closet door slowly clicking open. The noise was soft. A single, precise click of the latch coming undone. I was awake instantly, heart already in my throat, eyes locked on the bedroom door. No. No, no, no. I locked it. I locked it. But I could see the faintest sliver of darkness where there should have been wood. Just a crack. Barely wide enough to see through. But it was open. It was open. And something moved behind it. Not a lot. Just a shift. A sway. Like someone rocking from side to side. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. The crack grew wider, slowly, painfully slow, like whoever was behind it wanted me to see them. My eyes locked on that space, terror freezing me to the spot. I saw a hand. Pale gray fingers curling around the edge of the door. Slowly, so slowly, the hand pressed against the wood, and the door creaked open another inch. I was already on my feet. I don't even remember standing up. All I knew was that I had to move, now. I bolted for the door, nearly tripping over the chair I'd wedged under the knob. I shoved it aside, ripped the door open, and ran. I didn't stop running until I was outside, barefoot, heart slamming against my ribs. I didn't care who saw me. I didn't care about anything except getting out. From the street, I looked up at my bedroom window. The light was still on. The closet door was wide open now, a dark hollow space in the glow of my lamp. I swear I saw something standing in there. Not moving. Not hiding. Just watching me. I didn't go back inside that night. I sat in my car, parked across the street, eyes locked on my bedroom window like it might blink if I looked away. Every shadow, every flicker of movement from passing headlights made me flinch. The closet door stayed open. That was the part one couldn't shake. It didn't move. It didn't close. It just stayed open, like it was waiting. I kept telling myself I was being stupid. It's sleep paralysis, a lingering dream, my brain misfiring after waking up too fast. That's all it was. That's all it had to be. But no amount of logic could make me unsee that hand curling around the edge of the door. The way it pressed against the wood, fingers too long, too slow, like it had all the time in the world. I sat there until the sun came up. By then, the world looked normal again. People were walking their dogs, cars drove past like nothing was wrong. But I knew it was wrong. I knew it. Around 8 a.m., I finally forced myself to go back inside. It wasn't bravery. I just couldn't sit in my car anymore without looking like a maniac to my neighbors. My heart was thudding so hard I could feel it in my skull as I unlocked the door, stepping inside like I was breaking into my own house. I kept the front door open, just in case. The living room was still. Silent. It smelled like stale air and bad dreams. I crept down the hallway, every step feeling louder than it should have been. I kept expecting to hear it, the breathing, the dragging scrape of claws. But the only sound was my own heartbeat. I reached the door to my bedroom. It was open. Of course it was. I stepped in, every muscle in my body tense, ready to bolt at the first sign of movement. My eyes locked on the closet. The door was still wide open, just like it had been all night. The chair I'd wedged under the knob was tipped over on its side, legs tangled like a dead spider. I swallowed hard, throat dry as paper. Just shut it. Close it and it's over. I told myself that 3 times. Just close it. It's that simple. It's just a door. But I didn't move. I just stood there, staring at the dark space inside, that narrow stretch of shadow I couldn't quite see into. It felt like something was watching me from the other side. The longer I stared, the stronger that feeling got, like I was being drawn in. My breath came out in short, sharp bursts. I told myself, it's your closet. You've lived here for 3 years. There's nothing in there. There's never been anything in there. But then, from deep inside the closet, I heard it. A voice. Small. Whispery. Crooked. I see you. Every inch of me went cold. I didn't think. I didn't breathe. I just turned and ran. I didn't even grab my keys. I ran straight out the door, barefoot, slamming it shut behind me like it could somehow keep that voice from following me. I stood on the front lawn, panting, heart racing so fast I thought I might pass out. I looked up at the window again. This time, I didn't see anyone. But the closet door was closed. I didn't go back inside that day. I didn't even want to be near the house. I called a friend, David, told him I had plumbing issues and needed a place to crash for the night. I could hear the confusion in his voice, but he didn't press. Yeah, man, come by. Couch is yours. I spent the rest of the day at a diner, just sitting at the counter, eating pancakes I didn't taste. I kept replaying that whisper in my head. I see you. Over and over again. I'd never heard a voice like it. It wasn't deep or raspy like a movie monster. It was soft, almost childlike. But something was wrong with it, like it was cracked down the middle. Words out of tune. When I got to David's place that night, I finally felt safe for the first time in 24 hours. The second I walked in, I saw his cat curled up on the couch and laughed under my breath. It's funny how normal things like cats and bad TV can make you feel human again. I crashed on his couch, telling him I'd be gone in the morning. You sure you're good, dude? David asked as he set up a blanket for me. Yeah, man, I said, trying to sound casual. Just house stuff. Plumbing's all jacked up. Yeah, he nodded, tossing me a pillow. Hope it's not, like, roots in the pipes. Had that once. Cost me $2,000. Yeah. Me too. I forced a laugh, but my mind was still back in my bedroom, staring at that closet door. That night, I slept. I actually slept. No pressure on my chest. No shadows. No dragging sounds. No voices. For a while, I thought maybe I'd beaten it. Then I woke up. Not from sleep paralysis. Not from a dream. I woke up because I felt something. A cold pressure on my ankle. At first, I thought it was the cat. I blinked, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. The room was dim, lit only by the glow of the kitchen light spilling down the hall. My ankle felt tight, like something was gripping it. I sat up slowly, my heart picking up pace as I glanced toward my foot. There was no cat. But something was holding me. A hand. Gray, too long, fingers curled around my ankle with the same slow, deliberate grip I'd felt the night before. I froze. I didn't breathe. My eyes followed that hand, trembling as I traced it back under the couch. I'm not sure if I screamed or just gasped, but I kicked out with everything I had, ripping my leg free. I shot up from the couch so fast I tripped, falling backward into the coffee table with a loud crack. David came running out of his room, shirtless, eyes wide with panic. Yo, dude. What happened? He yelled, helping me up. I was shaking, barely able to speak. I looked back at the couch. There was nothing there. No hand. No one under the couch. Just a blanket and some stray cat hair. Why yeah, I'm good, I stammered, wiping sweat from my face. Just a nightmare. David frowned. Man, you need to chill. You're jumpy as hell. Yeah, I'm fine. Just need air. I stepped outside, not even caring that it was freezing. I sat on the steps, sucking in cold air like it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. I looked down at my ankle. There were marks. Faint, but there. For long, thin imprints in my skin, like I'd been grabbed by something with fingers that didn't quite fit together right. I felt like I was going to be sick. I didn't tell David. What would I even say? That my sleep paralysis followed me to his house. That I felt a hand grab me from under the couch. I didn't want to sound insane. I stayed quiet, stayed polite, and thanked him in the morning before driving back home. I didn't want to go back. Every inch of me screamed, don't go back. But it's my house. I didn't have anywhere else to go. I sat in the driveway for 10 minutes before I finally went inside. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Stale, damp air, like a basement that hadn't been aired out in years. My skin prickled as I stepped inside. The air felt heavier somehow. Thicker. I went straight to my bedroom. Slowly. Quietly. Every step a test of my nerves. The door was closed. Not wide open like before. I swallowed hard, placing my hand on the knob. "Don't be stupid," I muttered to myself. I swung it open fast. The closet door was open. Wide open. And there, at the very back, in the deepest part of the shadows, 2 pinpricks of pale light blinked at me. I slammed the bedroom door shut, shoved the chair under the knob, and ran back to the living room. My heart wouldn't slow down. My whole body was vibrating. Then I heard it. From behind the door. A voice. "You can't keep me out." I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I sat in the middle of the living room floor, my back against the couch, every single light in the house blazing like it was Christmas morning. I kept my eyes locked on the hallway leading to my bedroom, barely blinking. Every shadow that flickered, every creak in the floor, every distant thump from the house settling sent me into a spiral. My heart never slowed down. It felt like I'd been running for hours, but my legs hadn't moved. I kept hearing it. The whispering. It wasn't loud. It wasn't clear. It came from everywhere and nowhere all at once. It was like listening to a radio station just slightly off the right frequency, words barely forming before they slipped back into static. I told myself it was the hum of the refrigerator, the old pipes in the walls, or just the blood rushing in my ears. But every so often, I caught a word. "Downstairs." I stopped breathing. I glanced at the basement door. It was closed, same as always. I never used the basement. Too cold, too cramped, and it smelled like old dirt. But hearing that word, "downstairs," made my skin crawl. I tried to ignore it. I tried so hard. But the longer I sat there, the more I became aware of something I hadn't noticed before. The house wasn't just creaking. It was breathing. Not loud, not obvious, but if I held my breath, I could hear it. A faint, shallow rise and fall. Like someone was in the walls. I'm not proud of it, but I left. I didn't grab my phone, wallet, or shoes. I just grabbed my car keys and left. Drove for miles with no destination, hands locked at 10 and 2, eyes darting to the rearview mirror every few seconds. I didn't know what I expected to see back there. Maybe nothing. Maybe something. I ended up at a 24-hour diner about an hour away. I sat in a booth near the back, ordered coffee I didn't drink, and just sat there. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead. People chatted, silverware clinking against plates. For the first time in days, I felt almost normal. Like the world wasn't about to shatter beneath me. But normal didn't last. It never does. I was staring out the window, eyes half closed, trying to convince myself I was just tired. Maybe I was losing it. Maybe I needed to see a doctor, get some sleep meds, or something. But then I noticed something. A man standing across the street. He wasn't doing anything. Just standing there, still as a statue. His head was tilted back, like he was looking straight up at the sky, but his arms hung limp at his sides. I squinted, trying to make out his face, but it was too far away. Streetlights cast shadows over him, his features hidden in the dark. I told myself it was nothing. Some guy, maybe drunk, maybe homeless, maybe lost. But as soon as I looked away, that feeling of being watched crept back in. My stomach twisted. Slowly, I turned my head back toward the window. He was still there. But he was looking at me now. My breath hitched. I sat perfectly still, fingers tightening on the edge of the table. He didn't move. He didn't walk toward me. He just looked. Then he lifted his hand, slowly, and pointed. Not at the diner. At me. My heart nearly stopped. I shot up, knocking over my coffee, and ran for the restroom. My hands shook so hard I could barely twist the faucet to splash cold water on my face. "You're freaking out," I whispered to myself, staring into the mirror. "He's just some guy. He's just some guy." But when I leaned forward, letting the water drip from my face, I saw something behind me. Not in the bathroom. In the reflection. Something moved behind the fogged glass of the diner window. Slow, deliberate movement. A shape, just a glimpse of it, but it was enough. A gray hand pressing against the other side of the window, fingers too long, fingers that curled like hooks. The reflection twisted as if something was watching me through the glass itself, not the street. I turned around fast, heart slamming in my chest. The diner was normal. People eating. Waitress filling coffee cups. The window was clear. No hand. I ran out of there without paying. I didn't care. I got in my car, locked the doors, and sat there, breath fogging up the windshield. I stared at the street corner where the man had been. He was gone. When I got back to my house, I told myself I wouldn't stay. I'd grab a bag, clothes, some cash, and I'd leave. Maybe I'd go to a hotel, stay at David's again, I didn't know. I just knew I couldn't sleep there. The house felt wrong the second I stepped inside. The air was thick. Wet. Like I'd just walked into a fog bank. The smell of damp earth was stronger than before. My breath came out in little clouds of mist, and my hands started to shake from the cold. I moved quickly, eyes locked on the hallway. I didn't even glance at the bedroom door. Don't look at it. Don't think about it. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started throwing clothes in. I moved fast. Too fast. My hands fumbled on zippers, shaking from adrenaline. I just needed to get out. Just go, go, go. Then, from the hall behind me, I heard it. Click. The closet door. I froze. My heart stopped. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. It was open. I knew it was. Slow, steady creaking filled the air behind me. I knew that sound. It wasn't the house settling. It was the sound of a door swinging wider. Don't look. Don't look. Don't look. Come downstairs. It wasn't a whisper this time. It was clear. So close it could have been whispered into my ear. I felt a rush of cold air across the back of my neck. Something's behind me. I dropped the bag and ran. Barefoot, stumbling, breath short and sharp like knives in my lungs. I didn't stop until I was outside, locking my car doors with trembling hands. My whole body shook so bad I could barely grip the steering wheel. I sat there for an hour, eyes locked on the house, waiting. Watching. Daring it to come outside. But it didn't. Nothing moved. I drove 3 towns over and rented a cheap motel room with cash. I didn't sleep. Every few minutes, I glanced at the closet door. No chair to block it this time. Just that flimsy lock on the knob. At 3:15 a.m., I heard it again. A faint, scratchy voice. I see you. I clamped my hands over my ears, rocking back and forth on the bed like a kid hiding from a thunderstorm. It didn't stop. I don't know when I finally fell asleep. But when I woke up, my ears were ringing, and the closet door was wide open. When I got back to the house the next day, I brought a hammer. I didn't care anymore. I wasn't afraid. I was angry. I went straight to the closet door and ripped it off the hinges. Wood splintered, screws popped loose, and I threw the whole thing into the hall. My heart pounded as I stepped into the closet, expecting to see it, the thing that had been watching me. But it wasn't there. Just walls. Old, cracked walls. Except for one. The back wall of the closet wasn't drywall. It was plaster. Cracked and brittle. Like it had been put up in a hurry. My hands moved before I could think. I slammed the hammer into it, once, twice, 3 times, until a hole opened up. It wasn't hollow. There was something behind it. Something breathing. If you want the next part, I'll send it. But I promise you, it only gets worse from here. The hole in the wall was small at first, barely big enough to see through. My heart was a jackhammer in my chest, every beat vibrating through my ribs like it was trying to escape. The plaster crumbled away in brittle chunks, revealing darkness beyond it, not insulation, not studs, just darkness. Cold, still air seeped out through the gap like a draft from a cave. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to know. But I'd already started. You don't smash open a wall and then just walk away. My breath was shallow as I raised the hammer again. 1 swing. 2. 3. The plaster shattered, bits of white dust hanging in the air like fog. The gap widened enough for me to see inside. I wish I'd never looked. It wasn't a wall. It was a space. A narrow, pitch-black space, like a passage that ran behind the closet. The kind you'd see in old horror movies where something skitters past in the background. My phone flashlight cut into the darkness, revealing a corridor that stretched to the left and right, running parallel to my bedroom wall. I had no idea how far it went. I could see the raw, splintered wood of the house's frame, and farther back, brick. But that wasn't what stopped me cold. There were marks on the wood. Scratches. Long, uneven gouges that ran up and down like someone had been clawing at it from the inside. Some of them were deep, wood splintered in sharp, jagged tears. Others were shallow, like tiny fingers had dragged themselves across the surface for hours. My breath fogged the air in front of me. It was freezing. Why is it so cold back there? I swallowed the knot in my throat and leaned forward, shining my flashlight farther down the passage. The light flickered. It never does that. Ever. I smacked the phone against my palm, breathing fast. The beam steadied, and for one horrible second, I thought I saw movement, something darting out of the light's edge. I yanked my head back so fast I nearly slammed it into the doorframe. My breath hitched, eyes locked on that dark space. You imagined it. Just the light flickering. That's all it was. But it wasn't. I knew it wasn't. I didn't want to believe it, but I'd seen it. Not a full figure. Not a shape I could describe. Just movement. A slow, deliberate shift, like something pulling itself deeper into the shadows. Not running. Retreating. I stood there, heart pounding in my chest, mouth dry as sand. I should have left. Any sane person would have. But I stayed. I had to know. Hello. I called, my voice shaking so bad I barely recognized it. Idiot. Why did you do that? I waited for a reply, every second stretching into forever. Silence. Then I heard it. Tap tap tap. 3 sharp taps from inside the passage. Not random. Not like wood settling or pipes shifting. Deliberate taps. Like someone knocking. I backed away, my flashlight still pointed at the hole. Nope. Nope. Nope, I muttered, every part of me screaming to run. I grabbed the closet door off the ground, tilted it upright, and shoved it against the opening. Not perfectly, but enough to block it. My fingers scrambled at the chair I'd used before, dragging it over and wedging it tight under the knob. I stepped back, hands on my head, breathing fast, staring at the blocked closet like it might burst open at any second. Then I heard the breathing. It's in the wall. It wasn't loud, but I could hear it. Soft, wet inhales. Exhales. Like someone pressing their face against the other side of the wood. Right there. Inches away. Don't, I whispered. My voice was small, broken. Don't. The breathing stopped. Then, from behind the closet door, I heard the whisper. Knock knock. I don't remember running, but I must have. Next thing I knew, I was in my car, engine on, gas pedal floored. I drove so fast I didn't care where I was going. I just knew I had to get away. I stayed at a motel for 3 days. Cheap, ugly, but safe. I didn't tell anyone where I was. I didn't even tell David. I left my phone on Do Not Disturb and ignored every call. I told myself I'd never go back. I'd sell the house, stay in the motel until I found a new place. I'd never set foot inside that room again. On the second night, I woke up at 3:12 a.m. with the worst sense of dread I've ever felt in my life. No reason. No noise woke me up. I was just awake. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. One new text. No number. Just blank sender info. The message was 5 words. You can't block me out. I stared at it for a long time, my hands trembling as I gripped the phone. I deleted it, locked my phone, tossed it on the other side of the room like it might catch fire. I knew what it was. I knew. I didn't sleep that night. On the 3rd day, I made the dumbest mistake of my life. I went back. I don't even know why. Some part of me just needed to see it. To prove it to myself. Maybe I thought I'd imagined it. Maybe I thought I could burn the whole place down. I still don't know. The house was quiet when I stepped inside. No smell this time. No cold air. The lights I'd left on had burned all night, every bulb still humming. I moved slowly, heart pounding in my chest. I glanced at the hall. The bedroom door was still closed. The chair was still under the knob. I exhaled, relieved, my breath shaky but steadying. Nothing moved. See? It's fine. It's fine. I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a trash bag, and started packing. Food, clothes, whatever I could fit. I wasn't staying. Not tonight. Not ever. I'd call a realtor, sell the house as is. Burn it down if I had to. I didn't care anymore. Halfway through packing, I stopped. The breathing. Soft. Slow. Not behind me this time. Not upstairs. Below me. I looked down at the kitchen floor. The basement. I hadn't gone down there since I bought the house. Just old junk from the last owner. I'd barely looked at it. But now I could hear it. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Right below my feet. Then I heard something worse. The creak of a step. Something's coming up. My feet moved before my brain did. I grabbed my keys and ran for the front door, skidding on the tile. I yanked the door open so fast I nearly ripped it off the hinges. But I made the mistake of glancing back. The basement door was open. I know for a fact I didn't open it. I know for a fact it was closed when I walked in. It wasn't open all the way. Just a crack. Just enough for something to look out. I swore I saw a face. Not a full face. Just the edge of it. Pale gray skin. A glimpse of an eye. A wide, too wide grin in the shadows. It didn't flinch. It didn't hide. It smiled. And then it raised one finger to its lips. Shoo. I didn't stop running until I was in the car, every nerve in my body on fire. My hands shook so badly I could barely put the key in the ignition. But I didn't care. I didn't even bother to grab my stuff. I just drove. Now I'm back at the motel. I haven't slept. Every shadow in this room feels off. I keep telling myself it's just me. My mind playing tricks. The whispers aren't real. But just now, as I typed this, I heard it. The sound of a door creaking open. It's coming from the closet behind me. I'm not going to look. I'm not going to turn around. If you want part 6, I'll send it. But I'm telling you now, I think it knows you're listening too. I left the motel. I know that sounds stupid, but something changed. I woke up at 3:33 a.m., that cursed, perfect time, again. I didn't even hear anything. No breathing. No whispers. No creaks. Nothing. But I woke up knowing. Knowing I wasn't alone. The air was thick, humid, and wrong. The kind of air you feel when someone's standing behind you, too close, breathing just a little too heavy. Every part of me tensed up. I didn't look. I didn't look. My heart was a sledgehammer in my chest, every thump echoing in my ears like a countdown to something awful. I could feel it. Standing behind me. I don't know how I knew, but I knew. I squeezed my eyes shut, breathing slow, silent breaths, every muscle in my body locked up with that primal, ancient instinct to play dead. If I didn't move, it wouldn't see me. If I didn't look, it couldn't hurt me. Then I heard it. That same, soft voice. Right in my ear. Look at me. I swear I stopped breathing. Every hair on my body stood up at once, goosebumps like ice down my arms, my back, my neck. I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood, trying not to scream. It didn't sound like it was behind me anymore. It was right next to me, its breath wet and warm on the side of my face. Look at me. I didn't. I wouldn't. I couldn't. I stayed like that for what felt like hours, heart beating so fast it hurt. My body was on fire, but I stayed still. I knew if I moved, if I so much as twitched, it would know I'd heard it. I could feel that knowledge in my bones, as sure as I could feel my own heartbeat. It didn't touch me. It didn't move. But it started to hum. Soft. Low. Tuneless. It wasn't a song. It wasn't anything I'd ever heard before. It was like the sound of a saw blade humming against wood, a vibration that shook my teeth in my skull. I bit my lip harder. Tears welled up in my eyes. Don't look. Don't move. Don't breathe. The humming stopped. Then, right beside my ear, in a voice so close I felt the shape of it. See you soon. I don't know how I did it, but I moved. I lunged forward, rolling off the bed, gasping like I'd been drowning. I spun around, eyes wild, expecting to see it, expecting it to be right there. But there was nothing. Nothing except the closet door. Wide open. My phone was on the nightstand. I didn't grab it. I didn't grab anything. I ran. Barefoot, half-dressed, out the motel door and into the freezing night air. I didn't care. I got in my car, slammed the lock, and hit the gas. I drove for hours, running on pure terror, checking the rear view every 2 seconds. Nothing followed me, but that didn't matter. I could still feel it. Not on the road. Not in my car. But somewhere. Somewhere near. I told myself I wouldn't go back to the house. No way. No chance. I'm not stupid. But I went back. I had to. I couldn't keep running. Something had shifted inside me. Fear had burned away and left something worse. Anger. If it wanted me so bad, fine. Let it come. I was done hiding. When I pulled into the driveway, the house looked normal. Peaceful, even. The front windows were lit by sunlight, birds chirping in the trees like it was just another day. No smell. No cold air. But I knew. I knew it was waiting for me. I stepped inside. The air wasn't thick. It wasn't cold. It was normal. Still, I didn't take my coat off. Didn't take off my shoes. I didn't plan on staying long. I went straight to the basement door. It was closed. Just like I'd left it. But I knew, deep down, it hadn't been closed for long. I stood there, staring at it for what felt like hours. My breath came short and shallow. I gripped the doorknob, fingers tight, skin slick with sweat. "You're not real," I whispered. "You're not real." Something scratched the door from the other side. Once. Then again. Slow. Steady. It was waiting for me to open it. No. Not this time. I went to the kitchen, grabbed a hammer, and came back. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold it. But I didn't care. I lifted it high and swung with everything I had. Bang! The frame cracked. Paint flaked off. Bang! The wood splintered. The sound echoed down into the basement, hollow and endless. I half expected something to shriek, but nothing did. Not a sound. Not even breathing. Bang! The door broke loose from the top hinge, hanging crooked like a dislocated shoulder. One last swing and it crashed to the floor. Dust filled the air, the crash so loud it made my ears ring. Behind it was the basement. Just stairs leading down. Pitch black. My flashlight flickered on. I swept it side to side, heart pounding so hard it echoed in my head. I stepped down one stair. Then another. My breath echoed back to me in the cold, cramped space. The flashlight beam jumped with every step, but I didn't stop. Halfway down, I froze. There was something on the wall. A handprint. Gray. Too big. Too long. The fingers stretched downward, like whoever made it was dragging their hand down the wall as they walked. My flashlight followed it. Another handprint. Then another. A trail of them, leading deeper into the basement. I took one more step. That's when I saw it. A face. Not a face like yours or mine. A long face. Stretched, narrow, sunken cheeks and hollow eyes that seemed too big for its skull. It was at the very back of the basement, pressed up against the wall like it had been waiting there for a long time. It didn't move. Didn't blink. But it saw me. I knew that, because it smiled. Wide. Too wide. Lips stretched back to reveal too many teeth, rows of them like a shark. Then, slowly, it raised one hand. Long fingers. Hooked joints. Sharp nails. It didn't wave. It just pressed its index finger to its lips. I dropped the flashlight. It hit the ground, spinning wildly, flashing shadows across the walls. The light rolled over it once, just once, and when it did, I saw it move. Not a step. Not a crawl. It moved like it didn't have bones. It twisted, jerked, and lurched across the wall, like it was attached to the surface itself. A horrible, wet sound echoed through the basement, like someone wringing out a wet towel. I was halfway up the stairs before I even realized I was running. My hand slammed into the wall as I climbed, shoving myself upwards so fast I tripped. My knee cracked on the edge of a step, but I didn't stop. I hit the ground floor, running full tilt, slamming into the kitchen counter. I turned, breathing hard, eyes locked on the basement. The stairs were empty. But the handprint was on the ceiling now. I grabbed my keys. My bag. Everything I could carry. I didn't stop to pack this time. I didn't even shut the front door. I just ran. I'm writing this from a coffee shop 2 towns over. I'm not going back. I don't care if I lose everything I own. It can have it. Let it have the house. Let it stay in the basement or the closet or the walls. I don't care. But I keep thinking about the closet at the motel. I didn't open it. But it was open when I woke up. I keep thinking about that whisper. Look at me. I won't. Not ever. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to explain it without sounding insane. But I think it's too late for that. It followed me. I'm not in the house. I haven't been back since that day I saw it on the wall. I left everything behind. Clothes, furniture, my TV, everything. I didn't care. I just drove, one hand gripping the wheel, the other wiping sweat from my face. I didn't stop until I'd crossed 3 state lines. New hotel. New room. No closets this time. I made sure of that. No closets. It didn't matter. I know that now. Because last night, it found me. I checked into a dingy motel just off the highway. One of those places with old carpet that smells like cigarettes and a flickering neon sign outside. But it was a room. A box with a bed, a TV bolted to the wall, and a bathroom with a flimsy shower curtain. No closet. I picked it on purpose. The first thing I did was check under the bed, check the bathroom, even opened the drawers like I was inspecting for monsters. Nothing. Just an old Bible, some mismatched hangers, and stale air. It felt safe. I didn't sleep right away. I sat on the bed with my back to the wall, every light on, phone clutched in my hand like it could save me if something happened. I kept the TV on too, volume low. It felt like if I kept the noise going, it couldn't sneak up on me. That worked. For a while. I must have dozed off at some point. My eyes just got too heavy, and sleep pulled me down before I could stop it. I don't know how long I was out, but I woke up in that awful way where you're suddenly, fully awake. No drowsy transition. Just wide-eyed, heart already pounding, like something whispered your name while you slept. The room was quiet. The TV was still on, playing some late-night infomercial, but the sound was off. I sat up, my breath short, looking around like a wild animal. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. Then I saw it. The bathroom door was open. I didn't leave it open. I know I didn't leave it open. It had been closed when I checked. I made sure. But now it was open just a crack. Barely wide enough to see inside. I stared at that crack, heart thudding like a hammer. My brain started running through the usual checklist. Did I close it? Did I forget? Did the air conditioning blow it open? None of it made sense. None of it felt right. Then I noticed something worse. The bathroom light was off. I turned it on when I got here. I know I did. I remember because it was one of those old yellow lights that buzz when they turn on. But now it was off. Just darkness behind the door. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I sat perfectly still, eyes locked on that thin slice of shadow. My mind was screaming at me, don't get up. Don't go check. Just stay here. Stay quiet. But I couldn't just sit there. I grabbed the remote from the bed and pointed it at the TV. The screen went black, cutting off the light. The only glow left was from the neon sign outside, flashing red through the thin motel curtains. Every time it flashed, it lit up the room for half a second, then left it in darkness again. Red. Dark. Red. Dark. I stood up slow, heart in my throat, legs weak like they might give out any second. Every step toward the bathroom door felt like walking toward a cliff's edge. Closer. Closer. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. Don't open it. Don't look inside. But I had to. I reached for the door. My fingers hovered over it, shaking so bad I couldn't keep them steady. Then something knocked. Not from inside the bathroom. From behind me. I spun so fast I almost tripped, heart lurching into my throat. My eyes darted to the window, the bed, the TV. Where did it come from? I scanned every inch of the room, breath ragged, adrenaline burning like fire in my chest. But there was nothing. Then it knocked again. This time, I knew where it was. The sound was soft. Dull. Muffled. It wasn't coming from the walls. It wasn't the window. It was coming from under the bed. I froze, every muscle in my body locking tight. My brain was screaming at me to run, to get out, but my legs wouldn't move. It's not real. It's not real. It's not real. 3 more knocks. Tap tap tap. Slow. Patient. I stepped back, breath hitched in my throat, eyes locked on the edge of the bed like it might lift up on its own. I wanted to run. God, I wanted to run. But my body wasn't listening. It was like that moment when you're about to fall off a ladder, that moment where fear keeps you still. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I nearly screamed. My heart jumped so hard it felt like it left my chest. I fumbled for it, hands shaking, fingers slipping on the screen as I swiped to unlock it. No name. No number. Just a single message. Under here. I dropped the phone. I didn't even think about it. I just dropped it and ran for the door. My bare feet slapped the floor, breath coming in frantic gasps. I didn't care. I didn't care if I looked insane. I wrenched the door open and ran outside, cold night air burning my skin. I ran across the parking lot to my car, threw myself in, and locked the doors. My eyes stayed locked on the motel room window, breath fogging up the glass. My phone was still inside. I wasn't going back for it. I sat there for hours, shivering, heart never slowing down. At one point, I saw something. Not much. Just a movement behind the curtains of my room. A hand. A pale, gray hand curling around the edge of the curtain. The fingers curled slowly, slowly, like it was waving at me. I left. That was last night. I've been driving ever since, stopping only for gas. No sleep. No stops. Just driving. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I can't stay still. If I stay still, it'll catch up. I know that now. It doesn't need the basement anymore. It doesn't need the closet. It doesn't need the walls. It follows me now. I stopped at a rest stop a few hours ago. Just long enough to wash my face, splash water on my eyes. I didn't look in the mirror. I couldn't. I was too scared I'd see something behind me. But when I looked down at the sink, I saw something carved into the porcelain. 4 letters. H-E-R-E. I staggered back so fast I almost slipped. My heart stopped. I stared at it, waiting for it to change, waiting for it to be a hallucination. It wasn't. It was scratched in. Deep. Flakes of porcelain chipped around the edges like it had been carved with something sharp. My phone buzzed. How? How is it buzzing? I didn't have it. I left it at the motel. But I could hear it buzzing. It was in my backpack. I don't know how. I don't want to know how. But I unzipped the bag, slow as possible, and there it was. My phone. The screen was on. One new message. Knock knock. I'm still driving. Every so often, I hear something. Not loud. Just soft little sounds. Tap tap tap. It's been coming from the back seat. I don't want to look. I won't look. Not this time. I don't know where I am anymore. I've been driving for hours, maybe days. The highways all look the same. Dark stretches of road, lit only by my headlights, bordered by forests that seem too thick, too still. I keep thinking I'll see another car, but I haven't seen a single set of headlights behind me or in front of me for hours. It's just me. And it. I know it's here. I've known for a while now. The first sign was the tapping. It started soft, 3 slow taps on the inside of the back passenger window. I ignored it at first. My mind tried to brush it off as loose gravel hitting the glass. But then it happened again. Tap tap tap. The exact same rhythm. Slow. Deliberate. Patient. I didn't look. Not at first. I gripped the wheel tighter, breathing through my nose, jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. I focused on the road. Just the road. Eyes forward. Eyes forward. But I could hear it. The tapping wasn't coming from the window anymore. It was coming from behind me. Closer. I glanced at the rearview mirror. I didn't want to. But I did. I wish I hadn't. The back seat was dark, shadowy, just out of reach of the glow from the dashboard lights. But there was something there. I saw it. A shift in the shadows. A long, pale shape leaning forward, head tilted at an unnatural angle, too close to the ceiling. It was watching me. My heart stopped. I jerked my eyes back to the road, breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Don't look. Don't look. It's not real. It's not real. But I could feel it. Breathing. Soft, shallow breaths. Not from behind me anymore. From right next to my ear. I don't remember pulling over. I don't remember throwing the car door open and running, but I did. My bare feet hit the cold pavement, and I didn't look back. I sprinted down the road, lungs burning, my breath loud in the still night air. I didn't care. I'd run until I couldn't run anymore. I was about a quarter mile away from the car when I finally stopped, bent over with my hands on my knees, gasping for air. My breath fogged in front of me, and for a second, everything was quiet. No footsteps. No breathing. Just me. Then I heard it. The car door creaked open. My whole body went cold. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. My muscles locked up, every instinct in me screaming, "Don't look. Don't turn around." But I heard it. Slow footsteps. Bare feet on cold asphalt. Steady. Soft. Step. 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 It didn't rush. It didn't run. It didn't have to. I clenched my teeth so hard I thought I'd crack them. Every breath I took was a quiet gasp, like I could somehow fool it into thinking I wasn't there. My heart was so loud I knew it could hear me. I squeezed my eyes shut. Look at me. I felt my knees go weak. My whole body shook. It was right behind me. I knew if I looked, I'd see it. Its face would be inches from mine. That long face. That smile with too many teeth. Look at me. Its voice was quiet but sharp, like a nail dragging over glass. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. My eyes stayed shut, tears stinging the corners. Don't look. Don't look. Don't look. The footsteps stopped. Silence. No breathing. No tapping. No voice. Nothing. I opened my eyes, heart still thudding in my ears. Slowly, I turned my head just a little, just enough to look behind me. There was no one there. No one. No thing. Just the empty stretch of road, lit by my car's open door, the overhead light flickering. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. My legs felt like water, ready to collapse under me. I stood there for a long time, hands on my head, heart still racing. It's gone, I told myself. It's gone. It's gone. I took one slow step back toward the car. Then another. My eyes darted left and right, scanning every inch of the road, every shadow, every tree. But there was nothing. The night air was cool on my skin. The only sound was the soft buzz of crickets in the forest. I reached the car door. The overhead light flickered. I glanced inside. The back seat was empty. I leaned in slowly, breath shaky, eyes darting from seat to seat, checking every corner. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I sat in the driver's seat, hands still shaking as I gripped the wheel. I stayed like that for a while, just breathing. Just sitting. Then I heard it. Tap tap tap. It wasn't on the window this time. It was under the car. My whole body seized up. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Tap tap tap. It came again. Slow. Patient. Directly under my seat. I leaned forward, eyes wide, staring down at the floor mat like I could somehow see through it. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. I knew what it wanted. It wanted me to look. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. I jumped so hard I hit my head on the ceiling. My eyes darted to the screen, breath sharp and fast. The message was there, waiting for me. No number. No name. Look under the seat. No. No, I wouldn't. I wasn't that stupid. I knew what it wanted. I knew. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. The thought wormed its way in, planting roots. What if it's not real? What if it's your phone glitching? What if you just check, just for a second? I hate that part of my brain. The part that gets curious even when it knows better. I reached down, hands slow, fingers brushing the edge of the seat. My pulse roared in my ears like static. My breath came out in short, sharp bursts. I tilted my head, just a little, just enough to see under the seat. It was too dark. Too shadowy. I reached for my phone, tapping the flashlight on. My thumb hovered over it, breathing fast, heart hammering against my ribs. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I turned on the light. The glow cut through the darkness, shining under the seat. My hands shook so bad the beam of light jittered, dancing over the carpet, the wires, the edge of the metal frame. Nothing. See? Nothing. You're safe. I exhaled slowly, shoulders dropping, chest still heaving from the panic. I sat back, dropping the phone in my lap. Then I felt it. A hand. A cold, long hand with too many joints wrapping around my ankle. My body jerked so hard I smashed my head against the ceiling. My eyes shot down. My foot. My ankle. It was sticking out from under the seat. A pale, gray hand. Its fingers curling up my leg, sharp nails pressing into my skin, pulling me down. I screamed so loud my throat tore. I kicked, but it didn't let go. It pulled harder, jerking me against the seat. My legs thrashed. I gripped the steering wheel with both hands, kicking with everything I had. Look at me. The voice wasn't in my head this time. It was coming from under the seat. I kicked harder. One wild, desperate kick. The grip slipped. I scrambled, yanking my legs up, pressing my back against the door. I didn't look down. I didn't check. I just drove. I don't know how far I've gone. But I can still hear it. Tap. 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 It's closer than you think.